Hi, everyone. This is the Incept CONNECT Podcast. I am John Osberg, growth strategist at Incept here in downtown Buffalo, New York. Today, I am joined by a friend of mine, a client of ours at Incept, and that is none other than Jessica Wulf, Western New York BloodCare. Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. It feels like we just put this on the calendar
I know.
yesterday.
It was like a month ago, but it feels like...
It was actually more than a month.
Was it really?
It was the summer.
I think it was.
July.
Oh my gosh.
It was July, and now we're already at the end of September.
Yeah, like going into October.
Isn't it something? But that happens, I think, for those that are involved in, especially immersed in their professional and communal realms, leaders that are moving and shaking, that are trying to create impact, which is what we're all about here at Incept. And so I certainly would put you in that category as someone who's doing great work, right on. And sometimes I think we might get caught up in how much is going on, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, the podcast we scheduled 3 months ago.
It's right here.
So you're here. So thanks for joining, and thanks for the relationship that we have between Incept and Western New York BloodCare. It's one that we've enjoyed, and the work you're doing is super impactful. So that said, little introduction on yourself would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm Jessica Wulf. I'm a social worker and chief operating officer at Western New York BloodCare. So I have been with Western New York BloodCare for a little over 5 years now. In my role of chief operating officer for probably about a year and a half. I have been a social worker now for, oh my gosh, over 10 years, doing like lots of different things from mental health, substance abuse and addiction, long-term care, end-of-life care. I got involved with Western New York BloodCare. I have a child with a chronic health issue, so I really wanted to do something that would give back and be like, would kind of make sense with my personal and professional life. So I found Western New York BloodCare, and I was like, this is perfect. This is working with kids and families and adults with bleeding disorders and, chronic health, issues. And so it was a really great partnership, and it's been really awesome. Wow.
5 years. And I just learning that of you now. So part of your mission in your own life is to seek and serve, seek out and serve those that like you've had in your own experience with your family. So
yeah, I
appreciate you sharing that. Some of the services offerings of Western New York BloodCare, for those that may not be aware of it, I'd be curious to learn more about that.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of brevity on this subject. So
it's all good. You're good. Let's dive in. No,
yeah,
seriously.
So we are a diagnostic and treatment center. We're a federally recognized hemophilia treatment center, or an HTC. So we are designated and we're recognized by the federal government through a HRSA grant. So 50 years ago, when this all started with Western New York BloodCare, formerly the Hemophilia Center of Western New York, it was really the main focus of people with severe hemophilia and severe bleeding disorders. And that was really what we focused on, was, trying to get them help and include them into everyday life and to be normal people. And through the years, we've really expanded to not just bleeding disorders, but now we do thrombosis and thrombotic related issues. So that would be things like with a DVT, a deep vein thrombosis, or a PE, a pulmonary embolism, and just people who don't really know what's going on, just trying to get a diagnosis and figure out, what's happening. So we're a lifespan center. We see, newborns to end of life, older adults. And, we treat not just the individual, but the family. The backbone of our center is comprehensive care. So when you come to your annual appointment with us, you see a hematologist, but you also have the availability to see a physical therapist, a genetic counselor, a dietitian, nursing education, social work, and we also have a pediatric dentist. So we really treat the whole person, not just the disease, which I think really separates us from a lot of other, medical offices and, the typical healthcare setting where you go in, you wait 40 minutes for your appointment, you see a doctor, and then you're out.
Right.
Those appointments are lengthy and they're really in depth, and we really dig into like, what's going on? What can we help you with?
Wow. Holistic and comprehensive are two words that come to mind. And I'm learning some of this just even in our podcast right now. That's fantastic. And locations that you guys have, where are you mainly out of?
We have one building. We are at 1010 Main Street. Right in the medical campus.
Yep.
And it's a great location. We moved there 3 years ago now. Oh my gosh, which seems a little crazy.
Another one, yeah, like that.
And we moved basically with the Children's Hospital when Children's, moved to the new location. We basically followed along. So
makes sense with that connection. And there's young children, young people going there. They can make that hop, skip, and a jump over to your facility. Excellent. Let's talk more about in the community. I know there's something going on with UB. Why don't we talk a little bit about that partnership, kind of that working relationship you have with them for those that are watching and listening.
So we just kind of created this partnership with UB, and they're think it's their interprofessional development section of education.
Yep.
So we have set up basically 3 separate programs with them over a 5-year span. So the first program is called WISTER, and it's a huge acronym that I don't officially know what it stands for, but basically we will have students rotating into our comprehensive clinics. They will be shadowing a provider and also shadowing a patient. So they're kind of seeing it from the patient's perspective, but also seeing it from the providers that come into the room. And they'll also be administering assessments to our patients to determine, like, for social determinants of health. So these are things like, food security, housing issues, transportation issues, things that impact people every day, but especially when you have a chronic health issue, managing like your health and also like the stuff that happens to people every day, it just kind of adds on and piles on. So we've never collected all of this data before. So I think it's going to be really insightful just to kind of see like what our population and the people of Buffalo and Western New York, because we serve all the counties of Western New York, what are they going through? What's really happening? I think it's going to be really helpful.
Wow. Excellent. Yeah. Please continue. Expand. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay.
Yeah.
We're also doing a program called the Health Mentors Program. So we have 5 patients who are basically the teachers. So they're assigned 6 students, and they basically explain their life and what it's like living with a chronic health issue or being a parent of someone with a chronic health issue. And then the students have to make a presentation basically on what they've learned. So that's like a super intimate connection.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really excited about that one because I think it's really going to show the person behind just this diagnosis, people get labeled with. It's really like, what are their struggles? Like, what does, everyone kind of have to go through that's living with this like really hard burden of having a chronic health illness. So
talk about a role reversal, and that's so innovative and just deliberate and intentional. I love that. I've never heard. Is this? And forgive me if I haven't followed. Is that a newer program or is that thing going on?
I believe it's a newer program.
Wow.
Yeah, that UB kind of proposed to us, and we're like, oh my gosh, yes, absolutely.
So
and
the patient is
the teacher. Yeah, they're like the facilitator of the information. So
that is so cool. How do people if there's anyone watching, listening that are interested in even these first 2 programs, are there ways to get involved and learn more?
Really, I would probably talk to your counselor or like whoever you work with admissions in UB and, just ask like how can I get involved with the interprofessional development program? I know that the contacts I have with Jessica Kruger is the big liaison we have over there with UB. So and I know they post stuff all the time and send things out, but obviously with your UB mail as an alumni, I know it gets lost pretty quick.
Yeah.
But they're going to be running these programs for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
We'll put that in the show notes too. Whatever information we might have, I always refer in our podcast. Check the show notes; they'll be in there. So. And
the third program is called the Innovation Sprint. So we basically propose a problem and a bunch of students come up with a solution. So they're in teams of like maybe 6 to 8. And they come up with a solution to our program. It's basically like a quality improvement initiative.
Wow.
And then they propose, their solutions to us, and we bring a patient with us, a provider with us to look at their solutions and kind of like pick and pull from which ones we really liked. So it's really interesting. We presented them, based on their problem statement and all the information, and we had like several teams reach out, like, can we come see your place? Can we talk to you more about this?
Yes.
And like, come on down.
That is so cool.
It was just really great. People learning a lot about not just, hemophilia and bleeding disorders, but just the whole gamut of like who we are, what we do, and kind of hoping to like maybe change the landscape of how people view healthcare, that it doesn't have to be this one size fit all model. You could, do a comprehensive model. You could really dig in deep to like the whole person and not just the disease.
I love that. And we were talking before we officially started recording social determinants. You mentioned it earlier. Maybe this is a good segue then into a bit more about that. I know that's a foundational piece of what you do, personally, professionally. Maybe some more insights on what that looks like and what that's all about.
Yeah, I think a huge shift, hopefully that's happening in this country and all over, is really a look at like health equity and equity in general, what that kind of looks like. I think we're realizing like equality is great, but that doesn't mean it's equitable, So how can we really make the healthcare and the things that we do, so it can reach everyone and not just certain select people, not just people with really good health insurance? How can it really affect and improve everyone's life? And so we're really hoping, with programs like this and really reaching out and trying to, put a voice to this and to who we are and what we do, that it can kind of shed some light. and really looking into the social determinants of health. How do the people of Western New York that receive our services,
Sure.
how are they all different? Where are they struggling? Where can we help them? As a community, like what are the pitfalls? What are the positives? And hopefully when we gather enough data and look at it, that's really what it'll show.
That's fantastic. I love, again, that comprehensive, holistic look. Yes, it's a lot of blood disorders, but it sounds like it's a really good, intimate experience, comprehensive experience with the healthcare kind of system, in that you have all these different professionals that are part of your team then at Western BloodCare.
Yeah. And we also have an in-house pharmacy. So
Wow.
we provide medication to our patients, and the pharmacy really is for factor replacement products. So those are the things that people need with like bleeding disorders.
Coagulant.
Yeah, really to just function and live a normal life, which is really great. So we have a 340B designation, meaning we can provide this at a cheaper rate. And we also have an in-house lab.
Sure.
Laboratory.
Yeah.
So we have a hemostasis thrombosis lab, and we do really, unique testing there. Some of the testing we do is really just here in Western New York. The next place you'd have to go would be to Albany or Rochester to receive that type of testing. So yeah, we are really unique, and we are very highly specialized. So it's really not for everyone to come to our clinic.
Sure.
But we also are branching out in a lot of different ways. We have a clinic for women and girls with heavy menstrual bleeding. We have an OBGYN that comes into that clinic.
Wow.
So we can really fully assess, do you have an undiagnosed bleeding disorder? Do you just have this problem? And how can we help solve that for you so you can have an improved quality of life?
Right.
So we are, always that's a clinic that's more open to the public, because a lot of women suffer with that, problem and aren't really aware that it's a problem. They think it's normal, and it's not normal. And if your quality of life is affected by that, you should definitely give us a call so we can, help you and see, is there something going on? How can we help support you so you don't have to deal with that every month?
Wow. Yeah, that's super impactful. So 1010 Main Street, again, all in the show notes. There's a lot. And I'm so impressed just too with how many moving parts there is in a positive way, of course, and how, for lack of a better phrase, you're dialed in, colloquially speaking, but it's super impressive. And it's very apparent that you're passionate about what you do. And in our interactions over the last, 6 months, it's been fun to get to know you better, what the organization's doing, the impact that you're having. And so that's maybe my next point is, part of what we talk about, the purpose of this podcast is that we like to say is that movers and shakers, people that are making positive impact in our community, both, communally, civically, communally, commercially, whatever it may be. Imagine you've got, let's say, two audiences. So it's kind of two-part. We'll start with the first part. I won't even say the second, because good podcasters don't ask two questions at the same time. The first one is, imagine you've got folks that are peers of yours in the medical field, or aspiring even, maybe specifically to the blood disorder world. What are some things that you might share in your experience, your decade-plus journey in this world? What are some things you might impart on them in terms of, again, let's say they're aspirational at this point. What are some things you might say?
I would think, depending on like what the specialty would be, someone's disease and their diagnosis, it's like the tip of the iceberg. Below that is so much more. You know what I mean? Think about something that a hobby of yours or something you're interested in. It's really just a small fraction of who you are as a person. And really getting to know and treat the entire person, I think, makes a big difference. And I think for Western BloodCare, that's something we've always really strived to do, is we really go above and beyond for our patients. We also have a chapter. So we do community events. Wow. So we do educational events for patients. We have a fundraising walk. We just give back. We do outreach. During the pandemic, we couldn't bring patients in, so we went to them. We delivered gifts to their houses for Christmas and for Halloween. You know what I mean? We just tried to let them know, we're still here. We're still a family. We're a big community. So you really have to look more than just the disease and the diagnosis. And yes, that's important to treat, to keep someone healthy and functional. But also dig deeper and look at the whole person. And they're 15 minutes late to their appointment, but they also are a single mom who's got, kids, and they've got to take them to school and they've got to go to work. And I think really understanding that just gives a deeper perspective.
So empathy and experience are two words that I extract from that. That's another E. In that point, I love that, right? So it's it's all about the experience, whether it's that technical medical experience that they have when they walk in as a patient experience, but even communally, I love that, where it's they're a patient, but they're a person. You know, people over patients is probably something that comes to mind for me when I think of Western New York BloodCare. It's like people over profits is another thing, which is a whole ESG, another sidebar conversation. I think that's fantastic. How about just a use case or two that, you know, and you answered it almost like you knew what my next part, the second part was, which was more just broadly on the community level, right? Which is, again, you kind of said it. I don't know if there's anything to add, but again, this is the intersection of how if you build community, you can build your cause, your organization, your mission, whatever it is. Might you add anything else to just some tips, some thoughts, experience of yours, and how you've been able to build a community, whether it's even like you said, you know, yesterday, just getting back from a conference, you know, what are you doing in those conferences, networking? Like, I'm just curious if you'd share that at that C level, in the medical healthcare field, that might be useful, interesting.
I think hemophilia treatment centers, or HTCs, were really unique in the fact that there are so many federally designated ones in the country. So just within our region, which is from basically Western New York all the way up to Maine, we have a region of HTCs, and a lot of the interdisciplinary people meet those teams. I meet with the social worker group monthly. The nurses do that. We have regional meetings. So just within our region, we're kind of on the pulse of like, what's going on? What are we all doing that's different? What are we doing that's working? What are the problems we're all kind of facing? And then there's huge national conferences, and we always encourage our patients to go. We help fund our patients to go if they can't afford to go, because there's a lot of just different programs out there. And to look kind of at the macro level of, you know, you do have this really difficult disease and diagnosis, but there's other people that you can connect with. You know, there's other people that you can meet that are your age, especially kids that are adolescents and teenagers, and knowing you're not the only one who has this. You know, we link patients up to camps, and just to kind of give them a broader perspective. I think sometimes it's really easy to kind of get siloed in this vision of, you know, this is really difficult and I'm really struggling, and, you know, not taking that away, people are, but there's a lot of big community out there, and we really try to introduce our patients into that community and our providers and different people as well, giving them an opportunity to further their education, to make these contacts, to find out, what are you doing? Oh, you're doing that. Let's bring that back to our clinic and adopt that so that we can help our patients. Super sharp. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic in terms of just that innovative mindset, that comparing, contrasting amongst other groups, and it only helps further your mission at Western New York BloodCare to be better, to deliver the best patient care. I love it. Website, how do we connect? Where do we find you? All that, you know, what Jess will share will be in the show notes. But
WesternNewYorkBloodCare.org. That's our website that has all of our information, that tells you all the providers we have there, the services we provide. It also has our upcoming events. We have our annual fundraising walk on October 15th. It's going to be down at the Outer Harbor. If you go to our website, or if you follow us on social media, on Instagram or Facebook, we have all that information. You know, we definitely encourage people to come out and, you know, join us for a really good cause, to raise some money and, you know, see our patients and kind of see what we're all about.
And that's a Saturday, it sounds?
Yes, that is a Saturday.
Okay, cool. It's a Saturday. We'll make sure we put that information in there. How do we connect with you, Jess?
You can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's how we know each other.
Yeah, that's how we first connected, through LinkedIn.
Yeah. So I'm definitely on LinkedIn. You can also find me on the website as well, that has my contact information.
Excellent. Right on. Cool. Well, we really appreciate the work you're doing, spending some time with us, the partnership that we have, you know, Incept with Western New York BloodCare, and all the impactful work you're doing. It's obvious how passionate you are, and I'm energized by your energy, and, you know, just again, a thanks from the community on behalf of all those that you've impacted and touched and positively impacted. A big thanks. So, so check out Western New York BloodCare. They're doing great work. And maybe October 15th, we'll see you there. So, Jess, thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
This is another Incept Connect podcast. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks.